I don't want him to look back at the story of his son and be disappointed, because then he would regret more the fact that he wasn't there in instilling things. And so, if he was sitting next to me, I would say, Dad, I just want to make you proud. Like, I just want to make you proud. And every decision that I've made since his passing was under the umbrella of, man, I just hope I'm making you proud.
Right.
And every time I would walk through my living room and I would see his picture, I know this sounds really like weird, but I would stop and I would look at him. And I would look at his picture and I would talk to the picture and I would say, man, I just hope I'm making you proud.
Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome to the Dear Dad podcast. This is the place where we address dad dynamics and discuss personal experiences, stories, and poem submissions to help provide a platform for healing while simultaneously uplifting one another. Let's change the dad narrative all around. Let's go. Let's grow. Hello, you beautiful people. Thank you again for joining me at Dear Dad Podcast. My name is Jimson Darius, a.k.a. BJ. Now, today is a special guest. And I know I said that each and every time, but every guest is special for me. And there's a reason for that, because I have a different connection with them. And this particular individual, I have a really special connection with him. Man, this guy is a pastor, he's a friend, and he is a positive role model to so many people out there, you know? So many people out there. Definitely for me, we are long-term friends, been friends for a long time. And every time we see each other, it's just love. Honestly, just love. But again, I'm not going to take too much away from him. I'm not going to take the shine away from him. I'm going to introduce you guys to Pastor Dudley.
Hey, what's going on, BJ? You know, I was sitting here, I'm trying to listen to your introduction, man, making me feel uncomfortable, you know?
Really? Why is that?
I mean, because, there are some people who know me as, like, Pastor Dudley, and there are people who know me before the title was given. Right. And you're definitely one of those people. So to hear you say, oh, yeah, he's a pastor and a role model, I was like, man, we knew each other way before that. And, it's kind of humbling. So yeah. I appreciate it.
I got to give that respect where this respect is deserved. Definitely need to give that respect. Yes. All right. So let's just dive in. The first question. Okay. So let me know and let the audience know, who is Dudley?
Ooh, that is a very, very nuanced question. I think I would probably start off by saying that I didn't really know who Dudley was until a couple of years ago. I think the majority of my life was trying to match my expectations to what I felt like would ultimately be my purpose. And so I think that Dudley, growing up, was someone that was seeking a lot of approval. I think Dudley was a person that, was trying to find a niche, something that would give him maybe the affection that he was looking for. Growing up with my family, we moved around a lot, and so with moving around a lot, you tend to feel like you have to redefine yourself in every single place.
Absolutely.
That you move to.
Yes.
And every single place you don't really establish stable roots. And so it took a while for me to figure that out. But I think now, if I were to put a definition to it, I really find myself to be a person that loves people. Dudley is a person that is creative, likes to speak his mind, has learned when to talk and when to listen. Dudley is a family man, more than ever now. And Dudley's a servant of God.
Man.
I really, I love studying his word. I love worshiping him every day. I think I'm really simple. I don't really have too much of a life outside of God and family. And that's it. I tell friends of mine, I say, man, I watch 3ABN, ESPN, and an occasional CNN.
Those abbreviations.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's me.
In a nutshell. That's awesome. That's
In a
awesome.
nutshell. Yep.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Again, I mean, I've known you for a while. We've been friends, and I don't know. Again, I know in the introduction I said you're a role model. I think it's an understatement when I'm saying that. I think you have such a good influence on others. Your energy is superb. For the person that you are right now, is definitely is enlightenment. Like you definitely shine brighter every time that I see you. I think it could be your wife, it could be your child, it could be the combination, or it could just be God just shining on you. And I just, I appreciate that, and I really do appreciate that.
Thanks, B.
Yes. And all right, so let's dive in. Let's dive into your dad. All right, let's dive into your dad. Tell me about your dad.
My dad. So Jacques Francois is from Haiti. He is from a pretty predominant family in Haiti, in Port-au-Prince. My grandfather, his father, was an owner of many different businesses, namely several different private schools down in Haiti. And my father, who worked for him, was a very prominent figure in Haiti as well. They were pretty well off, if you could say anything about that in regards to Haiti. And he was just a man who cared a lot about life and his own personal success. I think that during his time, he had a fork in the road in his life where he had to either now take on the full role of his father's business or choose his own path. And he chose his own path. He actually denied the inheritance that his father, my grandfather, gave him for a lot of personal reasons, a lot of professional reasons, and a lot of spiritual reasons. And so he gave that up. And I think that came at a time where he also found his faith, and his faith and his belief in God has really allowed him to make that type of decision. That kind of allowed his life to go down in sort of a spiral. A lot of things that he was accustomed to, he was used to, it didn't necessarily happen the way for him as easy. He went from a person who was very well off to being homeless. During the time he married my mother, and they had my brother. And when they had my brother, to try to find a better opportunity for themselves, they moved to the United States. My brother stayed behind in Haiti. They moved to New Jersey because my mother had family in New Jersey. And he just, tried his best to, make ends meet. It's the typical immigrant story, right? Eventually he was able to put some roots down, sent for my brother. By that time I was born. And that's what it was. And then we eventually moved from Jersey to New York just for better opportunities. He started as a cab driver. He ended up going from becoming a cab driver to a limousine driver. From a limousine driver, he made his own business. I mean, mind you, he really went. He was in Haiti. He was an accountant. He was an accountant for the school that my grandfather owned. So he was really good in that regard. But here in New York, to make ends meet, he's driving cars for a living. Eventually made his own business with a couple of cars that he owned and drivers that he hired. And then after that, the business didn't work as well as he wanted. Drivers weren't as accountable to the business. There were accidents that happened with the cars and so on, and so he left that business. And then he eventually found a city job where he was working for the city, sort of in their social security administration office, where he worked in the Haitian Haitian sector, where he was able, cause obviously because he's from Haiti, he was able, for those people who are calling in, he was the manager of that particular area, and he found it there, and that was pretty much his occupation for his time that he was with us. He was a huge family man, my father. He didn't avoid any opportunity to have conversations with his children, lectures, sitting us down and talking to us for 2 hours straight about life. He was a very experienced man. He was seen a lot, experienced a lot, been through a lot, and so he felt a need to give his children some sense of what life really is, rather than what they have really experienced. He's allowed his family to live a sheltered life, but he was trying his best to try to make sure that we knew the other side of life. He worked in different areas of the church. He took upon himself to make his own newspaper. He became a writer. He wrote his own books. He became an author of at least 50 books. That was published. And he became a writer of his own newspaper for the church. He felt an urge to allow the lay person, the average member of his church, to kind of know the sentiments of all the areas of the church. And so, because of his connections and the fact that he was a very polarizing figure amongst the Haitian community of our faith in New York, I would be accustomed to seeing many pastors coming to the house, speaking to him, spending all hours of the night talking with him, gaining advice from him, and so on. He was a great man, in my opinion. I mean, everybody has their flaws. There are a lot of flaws I noticed in him as I got older that I noticed in myself now. But I would say that he was a very influential man, a very intelligent man, one who cared a lot about instilling values into his family, into his community. He passed away about 2 years ago from cancer. And from everything I can say about my dad, I think if I were to sum everything up about him, I would pretty much say that he was a man that allowed people to understand the importance of life and all aspects of life, and to allow his life to be an example, and to be to give as much disclosure as possible, so that people were able to not be tricked or fooled into what the truth of life is, but to do his best to try to help people make the best out of their own life.
Wow, that's I didn't even have a smidge of understanding that your father was just such a high accomplishment on his record. That is a pretty profound record to live by. That is wow. Wow.
Yeah, he wouldn't say it though. I mean, he just reminds you, hey, be a man of God, continue to pray, and so on. As much as don't get me wrong, I do feel like he found moments for him to celebrate himself, as most Haitian people do. The Haitian people, man, our biggest problem is pride. But yeah, I mean, but in everything, he tried his best to put things in perspective. But yeah, he was a great man. I love my dad.
So
very
how
much.
was the dynamic? So try to say, how was the relationship between you and your dad?
Well, me. So I loved my dad. My dad was my hero. I think asking me the question versus asking my siblings the question, you might get different answers depending on who you are. I was the quote unquote middle child, even though there was four of us. I was the middle child only because my younger sisters are twins. So it was my older brother, it was me, and it was my twin sisters. And so for me, I kind of saw only the good in him. and I felt like he was intelligent enough to only highlight the good. Um, so but in that sense, I loved my dad. I revered him. I understood his compassion. I recognized his intelligence from early on. I had a great relationship with him. I never felt as if there wasn't something that I wasn't able to sit with him and talk with him about. He was very open-minded. I think he was very stubborn too. In the fact that I think he was too smart for his own good, and sometimes his intelligence allowed him to only see things a certain way. So that as you become an adolescent and so on, obviously there are certain areas where you push back because you think you know the world as well. But all in all, my relationship with dad with my father was the best. I mean, he was a person that gave me a sense of what leadership looks like. From a young age, I was considered to be a leader, even though I don't know even at that time if I knew exactly what leadership was. I was bred in that sense to be a leader, and amongst at least my community of faith in New York, people saw me to be that, and I try to live up to the expectations of my father and to the desire that he wanted for me. I think he molded me sort of in the image that he would have wanted for himself if everything worked out in his favor. And so I think I was very favored and privileged. And so I can't really say that there was a time where I've ever had anything bad to say in regards to my dad. I mean, maybe now, it's easy to say that in retrospect when he's gone, right? And so a lot of times you only highlight the good. That's the only things you choose to remember. But for me now, I realized him just to be a huge influence over my life. Him and I, we were friends, man. We were partners. And I appreciated that he wasn't the typical Haitian father. He was a lot more down to earth for me. And so that allowed for easier conversations.
Wow. I know there was a reason why I like you, but now I have more reason to like you. More because you told me you are the middle child. And I know for me, for me, you call it a theory. Middle child syndrome. Right. Look, it's real. I don't care what anybody says. Yeah. It's real. And the fact that you tell me you're a middle child, look, my eye just opened up. I was like, we're gonna be best friends. We're gonna become best friends. And the dynamic usually is just that the middle child is just like left alone to fend for himself because the older had the attention, and you have the middle child, and the middle child didn't get attention enough. Then you got the young child. Then you missed that whole dynamic. But you had a really good relationship with your dad, which is really refreshing to tell you the truth. Whenever I hear any child that's in the middle that has, especially Haitian parents too, whenever you talk about your parents, it's more of like, man, they literally were trying to kill me, or they had the worst upbringing, or whatever the situation may be. But you were just like, again, as a middle child, your relationship with your dad was very, very positive. And for me, again, that's very, very refreshing.
Yeah. I mean, for me, as I compare myself to like my siblings, I think that my desire to want approval had a lot to do with also my father's connection with me, because I would try to do a lot to please him, and also my mother as well. And so in that sense, I would kind of stand out in trying to do things for the sake of the church, for my school, and so on. And because of that, I felt like he saw something in me that even BJ, I didn't even know in myself. I think he saw something in me. I think he knew what God's calling for my life was before I knew it. And so because he saw it, I think he had some level of discernment and realizing what God had for me. I think that's the reason why he kind of like took the time to sit down and groom me. Because he was able to just have that foresight to be able to see that, not too many, young men at that particular age would be interested in, leading the choir, or, being this example when everybody wants to go and do their own thing. He's the one that says, nah, I don't want to do that. And, and believe me, how badly I did want to go to those things, but something in me that said, no, I shouldn't do that. No, I couldn't do that, or whatever the case may be. And I think he just noticed that, and he wanted to nurture that as best as he can. So I don't know if I'm the average middle child, because I do believe that there is a middle child syndrome, as you so rightfully mentioned. And I do believe that there has been a missing sense of approval that I've always continued to try to fight for, because I will never be, no matter how many accolades that I get, I'll never be my older brother,
Right.
and I'll never be the twins. And so the only way for me to stand out is for me to do things in the areas of, things that I think my parents would like, church, school, that will allow me to stand out. And so I really tried my best to be, okay, if I can't be the oldest, then I'm going to be the smartest. Or if I can't be the youngest, the one that, you endear yourself with, then, what, I'm going to stand out in a different way. And so, maybe I use that to my advantage, and it benefited me. I don't know, but
you are an anomaly. Okay, you're an anomaly.
Yeah.
So it's different, but that's actually really cool. It's really amazing, man, to hear that. It's refreshing. And I know before you were saying there's a lot of there's a certain personality traits and characteristics in your dad that you find yourself doing as well. What are some characteristics in you that you find in your dad, and also finding maybe in your kids?
Wow. Wow. Well, the kids, I could definitely say that. For me and my dad, I think the greatest thing that I would probably say that I can get from him was his creativity. He was able to make a lot of things out of nothing, and I think that I have that same similar trait. I also feel like there are a lot of things about in regards to my dad that connect to me, just in the way in which we see the world. I think I've learned a lot about having enough patience in seeing things in people. When pastors would come over to the house and speak with him, he didn't see them as pastors. He saw them as people. And because of that, these pastors were able to confess a lot of things that are going on with them personally, a lot of things that they're going through. I mean, not necessarily evil things, but things that normal people go through. And I feel like I have that same eye. I have an ability now over time to have some empathy, to take some time and to think about why people do what they do, or what's the origin behind someone's words, before beginning to react on what people say. And I think a lot of my patience comes from him, because he was a very stoic person. He didn't respond to anger very quickly. He was very cerebral. If you watch wrestling, you would know that Triple H is the cerebral assassin. I would consider my father the cerebral assassin. He was a very, very intelligent person that was able to break you down. And I think I got a little bit of that from him, just in the ability of me being able to assess someone for where they are, and to kind of allow people to be people, and not really judge them. And I think that works very well in the space that I'm in now. Praise the Lord that I'm able to be that type of person. But yeah, so with that, my creativity, I think with my father and I, we have a certain expectation for greatness. I don't like to settle. So that's also a part of me that I find no peace in that when people say, man, Dudley, that was great. My father always instilled in me to look at situations and areas that aren't great, and begin to start to look at the glass half empty rather than half full. That's good in a production standpoint, but it doesn't necessarily always give you that amount of peace. because a lot of people are just relishing in your accomplishments, and you don't have the ability to ever be satisfied. Um, that's me self-diagnosing myself. Or yeah, so there are a lot of things, both positive and negative, that I think I got from my dad, both the creativity and the ability to read people, and also the ability not to settle and to expect greatness, and to continue to keep striving for greatness, whatever I consider greatness to be, or whatever I read or examine or able to compare
And how's that
to become.
illustrated in your sons, your kids today?
Yeah, so what's funny is so Pierce and Jordan, Pierce is my oldest son. He's 3 right now. He's turning 4 this August. And my daughter Jordan Taylor, she's 2. She's turning 3 in November. Jordan she's everything I want to be, but she's nothing that I am. Like, she's everything. She has the spirit, the boldness, the maturity of a 10-year-old, even though she's 2 years old, and for that I kind of envy her. So, because I feel like when I was younger, I was still trying to find myself, and I feel like she knows herself. But Pierce is me, and Pierce is my dad, because Pierce is stoic, Pierce is cerebral, Pierce is thoughtful, Pierce is kind, Pierce is the one that pays attention to detail. Like right now, to this day, Pierce's biggest infatuation are the opening credits to movies. Like, no talk, no lie. So he right now loves comparing the 20th Century Fox opening credits versus the Universal opening credits versus the Walt Disney opening credit. And he's able right now, if I were to call him and say, hum the 20th Century Fox theme, he would boom, 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 he would know it, and he would know it in detail. And if someone were to hum it the wrong way, no, daddy, no, it's not like that. It's like this. He pays close attention to how he writes. You right? Like, so his letters has to be like perfect. Like, from the way he writes his name. Like, Pierce, the letter P has to be the way that it was taught to him on YouTube. If it's not done that way, he's flipping out. If he asks me, come daddy, draw for me the Disney Junior, right? And draw the logo, the Disney Junior logo. So I consider myself somewhat of an artist, right? And so I would draw it, and I would realize that I would miss, like, putting the dot over one of the eyes. And he would flip out. Like, no. At the time when he wasn't able to talk well, he would highlight that. Like, no, daddy. And he'd get frustrated. And I'm like, what's going wrong with this kid? I'm looking at what I drew, and I'm like, it's perfect. I don't know. And he's pointing at the dot on the eye. And I'm like, man, this guy's attention to detail is crazy. Like, I would write out Nick Jr., and when I write out Nick Jr., the JR in the Nick Jr., I use a capital R where the real logo has a lowercase r. And he would flip out because you didn't put a lowercase r where it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a lowercase r, not a capital R. And so I laugh at him, and my wife laughs also, and like, yo, that's you. Your attention to detail, your expectation for greatness, it has really trickled down.
Wow. You know, I mean, I can relate to that. My son is definitely like that. And I don't know where he gets it from. Like, this kid right now, his intellect is surpassing where I was. I think right now he has a reading capacity of, like, I would say a 5-7 years old, if not 10-year-old. And I was nowhere near that when I was his age. When I was his age, I probably was still picking my boogers and eating it. But I don't know. I don't, like you said before, he's everything that I want to be, but greater. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's picking up on certain things right now that is just profound, like from colors to shapes to numbers, like everything that you put it in front of him, he's able to absorb. And I'm just like sitting back and just say, this kid he's a lot, but it makes me want to do more. Like even with this podcast that I'm doing, I'm like, mentally, when I'm thinking ahead, I'm thinking whereas I want to set a foundation for him where he sees that and he knows that and see that his dad is doing something positive, influential, that he would want to incorporate in his life as well. Like this podcast that I'm doing, it's really just not just for the time being right now. I want him to reflect back on it and just say, look, I heard my dad doing this, and the power that he was getting behind this was impeccable, and I want to do something like that too. I didn't have that when I was younger. I didn't have that when I was growing up, but I just wanted to change that dynamic and say, okay, what do I want my son to have as an example when he grows up? So every day that we with him, I'm literally formulating. I'm molding new characters of myself for him because I want a better version of myself for him.
But BJ, I think that's commendable too, right? Because I'm not going to say that I'm the worst parent, but I don't know if I've taken the time yet to like cerebrally think about all the things that I feel like Pierce and Jordan need. I feel like I kind of took it day by day. And I kind of promised God, I was like, God, man, you gave me 2 kids back to back. Good Lord, with a 15-month difference. And I'm like, wow, what am I going to do? And the best thing the Lord has told me was like, kind of just take it day by day. And so for me, that's all I'm doing. And I'm realizing the blessings that come from just taking things day by day and making the best things of my day count. But man, I would love to be like you. I mean, because you said you had an intention to think about what you were missing and trying your best to instill it. Man, I didn't even think that hard. I just took it. Let me just take every day and make every day the best that I can, and just move forward. And so far that's been working. I think every parent is different, and every parenting style is different, and it has it could have the same amount of benefits. But I really commend that. I wish I was more thoughtful in that regard of just thinking about, okay, what are the things that I felt like I'm missing? What are the things that I felt like I didn't receive? What are the things that I feel like I want to implement intentionally? I don't know if I've ever been at that point yet.
I mean, it's fine. I mean, it's grown. Day by day. Kids have a tendency to put you in perspective of what needs to get done and what has to get done at time. And I know with my son, it does that. And 2, growing up, giving you your environment change your perspective on life at time. Depending on what environment you're in, it can change your perspective on it. It could change your perspective on anybody. But you just, again, what are you going to do with that? What change do you want to do with that? And for me, I didn't have that. I know I didn't have that. So I intentionally, like I said before, from today and on, everything that I'm doing, my wife and I, is just like, okay, what we need to do right now so we can like teach him when he looks back that we're doing something good. So he can do something good as well. So he can like incorporate that with his kids. Because again, I didn't have that, but I want to set a new foundation, a better foundation, a clear foundation, a stronger foundation for him. So he can have that. So we can start a new legacy. And that's something that my great grandfather or grandfather did. I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus on what I can do for him right now, and to enhance his future.
That's really dope. Yeah, I think that's really dope. I completely agree with that sense. And I think that over time, at least for me, I think that eventually you're gonna probably have to get to a day where taking everything day by day won't be enough, especially when they probably get into adolescence. That you're gonna have to begin to start to think about who you were, what your father did in these particular areas. When it gets to a point now where the children aren't running up to you every single time you walk through the door, and they're loving you, Daddy, and all these different, getting excited by your presence. Where you're gonna walk into the door and where the kids? Yeah. Oh, they're in their room, locked, and the door's locked. You know what I'm saying? And so maybe there's gonna be a lot more thoughtfulness. I'm gonna have to put,
which is fine. I mean, everybody's different. It's not a wrong way of doing it. It's just whatever you feel like you can do best. And then I'm not here to criticize. Yeah. I'm not gonna put you down because I'm not saying mine is best, and I'm not saying yours is worse. It's just a different way of growing up. Yeah, it's a different way of upbringing. So I mean, it's definitely different. I wanted to just jump at something not within the script. I wanted to just find out from you what brought you to the attention. I know you say your father did it as well. What motivated you to just take the step to study divinity and theology?
Wow. So what eventually made me go into it, it's because God put me in a corner. I felt like I knew I was supposed to be a pastor since I was 16, but I ran from it because of everything that I knew about pastors growing up in a house where pastors would come to my house every single day, talk to my father and tell my father how horrible it is to be a pastor. And so because of that, I'm like, yeah, that's definitely the last thing I'm going to do. There's no way I'm going to do that. And then all of a sudden, I just felt since I was 16 years old that was something that I was called to do. I found myself, being a public speaker. I found myself being a person that was sort of seen as a role model, even as a younger person. But even then, I remember there was this one time there was a week of prayer that was happening at my church, and I remember the guest speaker at that time. It was like a Tuesday, sometime in the middle of the week. It wasn't like one of those high times, like on Friday night or something like that. Just a random day during the week of prayer. And he was preaching, and it was good, and everybody was saying their amens, and they were responding. And as they were listening to the sermon, based on what he was saying. But I was listening to the sermon that day, not based on what he was saying. I was listening to the sermon based on how he said it, based on the way he broke it down, based on how he put it together. What was the strategy? How did he build that sermon from the beginning to the end? Can I predict where he's going with this from a young age? And so at the end, I remember walking up to him. The service was over. People were leaving. He was packing up his bag in the front of the church. And I walked up to him and I said, Pastor, I can do that. And he said, do what? And I said, this preaching thing like you're doing. I think I could do that. I felt like I was following you, and I was following you. I think I was, figuring out where you were going and what you were doing. And I felt I could do what you did. He said, oh, really? I said, yeah. And I said, tell me, Pastor, how did you know you were supposed to be a pastor? And literally, this is a true story, no lie. He turned to me. He said, well, when I was 16 years old, I went to a pastor and I told the pastor, man, I can do what you're doing. And I was like, oh, man. And so I freaked out and I left and I ran from it for the majority of my life. And the thing was knowing what I felt like my calling was, I felt like, okay, all right, God, I really don't want to do this. So let me compensate, right? Let me try my best to give you something else that you might be happy about. So let me invest in other types of ministries, right? Let me invest in youth ministries and Pathfinder ministry and all the different things that my faith has within its umbrella. Let me try to do all of these things so that I don't have to go into ministry. And I felt like I was doing that to make God happy in my no. And God all the while is like, okay, yeah, all right, I'm going to let you go through these things to give you more experience, but eventually you're going to get to what I want you to do anyway. And so I remember going to school for graphic design, believe it or not. I went to SUNY Farmingdale on Long Island. Shout out to SUNY Farmingdale. And I got a professional communications degree. And then after that, I went and I worked for MedNet Technologies. And I remember MedNet Technologies is at the time was the second biggest healthcare web development company in the nation. So we would build custom websites for, small practice, small practice firms, from ophthalmology to, dentistry to you name it, from small ones to big hospitals. And I remember starting there, entry level and SEO, which is search engine optimization, customizing a client's website so that it can be found on Google or Yahoo. And then from there, I got promoted to design and development, then eventually into marketing. And I was doing my thing, right? Making my little money, whatever the case may be, yada, yada, yada. And then all of a sudden, 2008 hit, the economy crashed. Obama became president, and I was out of a job. Because they're not going to let go of the guy who's been there for 20 years. They're going to let go of the young kid who's just been there for a couple years. So I was let go, and by that time, God was like knocking on my heart. Because I'm saying, all right, it's New York. I'm going to easily find another graphic design job. And so I kept looking, and couldn't find anything. And then eventually, an overwhelming guilt, an overwhelming internal guilt that came into me to the point that I couldn't sleep. Like weeks, I could not sleep because of this internal pressure. And if anybody's listening to this, whoever wants to know how God speaks to you, that's one of the biggest ways. When you feel guilty for something that you didn't even do yet. Like that you feel an internal pressure, a motivation to do something that nothing on your external has told you to do, that's normally God. So I was killing myself on the inside about going into ministry until eventually I said, you know what? Forget it, man. I'm going to stop running. I remember I was dating my wife at the time. And when I was dating my wife, I called her, getting ready to break up with her because I was going to go away for school. And then ironically, the day that I was going to call her to break up with her, she called me to want to break up with me because she's going to go away to school for nursing. Ended up that we were about to go to the same school. Did not even know it. So, I was doing my own research on the side. She was doing her research on the side. And then that's it. And then lo and behold, that's just the story. So in 2009, I went back to school for theology, and the rest is history.
Okay, let's take a brief commercial break. We'll be right back after this sponsor. Hey guys, Bjimson Darius, aka BJ here from Dear Dad Podcast. Now, when I started this podcast, I wanted a platform where I can record and upload my content very easily. I didn't want to go through any hoops to get my podcast out there. When I did start my podcast, I was on a different platform. But after I was introduced to Anchor not once, not twice, but over 3 times by my close friends, I decided to give Anchor a try. I must say, I absolutely love it. Not only is it easy to use, but I am able to record, edit, post, and publish all my episodes right there on the app or the site. I was able to transfer all my episodes onto Anchor in less than 5 minutes. That, for me, was unbelievable. Oh yeah, here's the best thing of all. It's free. It is free to use. Yeah, I know. That's crazy, but take my word on this. It's true. Using Anchor has definitely made podcasts so easy. Trust me, you'll love it. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Refreshing. I love listening to testimonies. Love it. Love it. All right, so let's change the dynamic a little bit. Let's change the atmosphere a little bit. Let's go to a little bit more personal now. So tell us about fatherhood.
Fatherhood for me? Fatherhood for me, it's taxing. It's taxing. It is liberating. It's frustrating, and it's illuminating. Fatherhood has allowed me more of an awareness of who I am than any other part of my life. Fatherhood is a responsibility that you literally cannot take a break from. Fatherhood is a sense of an accomplishment that you never know the joy it provides until you have it. I never knew how badly I wanted to be a father until I became a father. There's no joy like fatherhood. But in that same sense, it really shows you who you are and who you're not. Because marriage shows you a certain part of your life. It shows you a certain part of your character, your patience, your cleanliness, whatever. But with fatherhood, for me, it showed me how disciplined I am. It's given me an ability to really check who I am, because now I don't just have to worry about my own, let's say, for example, my own time for worship. Now I have to worry about, my family's time for worship. I have to worry about the children being able to see and understand who and what God is. For example, I'm thoughtful and mindful now of the amount of juice my children drink, and if that mattered, where for me in the past it sure didn't matter. It should have mattered, but it didn't. And now it does matter. And so I think fatherhood is a huge responsibility of being able to see and being aware of things that you might have always taken for granted, and not realizing that fatherhood is as much about creating a culture than it is about being an example. It's about having the responsibility enough of knowing that the environment that you create or you don't create is going to have a lasting mark on the family dynamic that you have. And a lot of times families are looking for, or at least my family is looking to me to be the person to initiate things that are important. And if I don't do that, it almost seems as if there's an absence, there's a void. And and if you are a believer and if you believe in God as like I do, I also feel a sense of spiritual responsibility. I feel like God has spoken to me in a lot of different small areas of reminding me of certain things. Hey, don't be inconsistent in these areas, because look down the road and see how that might affect the children as they grow up. So fatherhood is a huge responsibility of being able to see how every decision that you make or you don't make shapes and reshapes the culture that you're building.
And I feel that too in my family. My wife, she even said it. She was like, I want you and I need you to be the spiritual leader. I need you to be that leader of the house, and just her just verbally saying it, just like reaffirm it for me. Because sometimes you just it was like, I think I have to do this. I think this is the direction that I want to take. But when you have someone step back and say, look, as the husband, as the man of the house, I want you to take charge of this. Like, I want you, that this is what I want to leave in your hands for you to do. And it's a huge responsibility, but it gives me this incentive to just like, okay, now I have this in my hand. I can't fail my family. I cannot let you down, because it's not only me that I'm trying to save. I'm trying to save my entire family.
Right. And that's huge, right? Because there's no book for this. How do I know how to build a culture? Like, real talk, BJ, like, I'm kind of glad for sports because sports is, and watching all of these debate shows on ESPN and whatnot, because it's really reminded me, I know this is weird, but it really reminds me of the importance of building a culture, and how you find that winning teams are because of winning cultures. And that reminder for me has done a lot for me. It's done a lot in reminding me the importance of realizing that, your demeanor, your enthusiasm, your support, your presence is as important as the rules that you set. It's as important as the example that you're trying to show. All of these things play a particular factor in what you're trying to build in fatherhood. So also, like for me, right, I think that if you're looking at fatherhood, you have to realize fatherhood is like a prism. And there are different, not just layers to fatherhood, but there are different angles to fatherhood. That fatherhood, if you look at it in one angle, in just one angle, then you'll only form something that is sort of a dogmatic presence, where you find that children might just respond in trying to be like their father rather than appreciating who their father is. And so you find a lot of children who, I appreciate who my father was, but I never got to know him. Right? Because if you only look at fatherhood in one sense, in one part of the prism, you'll only be able to appreciate your father in one area. And so it's important for you to realize that fatherhood has different, not just layers, but different sections for you to look at. So it's like 3D, and it's important for you to continue to keep turning the prism, allowing them to see the different sides of you. That it's not just your accountability, but it's your relatability, and all of these things play a factor in the development of the family that you are in charge of, right? And then all of these things have a sense in building a transparent and a cohesive family that not only knows how to be a good person in society, but also is a person that is able to relate to society, based on the nuances of expression and and disclosure and all of these different things. And so I always try my best to remind myself to continue to show my family different phases of me, to not just make the mistakes of fathers in the past of just showing one side of themselves, if not, even if that's the strongest side of themselves, but realizing that even the weakest side of yourself is important for your family to see, to be able to know.
Before you actually became a dad, before you actually became a husband, did you have an idea of what kind of dad you wanted to be? And if so, are you that person now?
I did have a sense of what dad I wanted to be. I'd like to say that I am that now, but I don't know if it's because it was fatherhood. I think I had my children at a perfect time in my life when I was able to finally accept me for me, to accept the good and the bad. And so me being able to be comfortable with me is then now I'm able to be comfortable with the people that I live with. And so I don't want to attribute that just to me. Okay, I'm going to be a father, and so this is what fathers do. But I think for me, it was, I found myself being trying to be the best version of myself. And being the best version of myself, will trickle down to all the responsibilities that you have, being a father and being a pastor and being a husband, being a friend, being a brother, etc. And so I do feel like I feel like I am the best that I can be for the sake of my children now, but that's only because that I'm now able to accept me and being able to know enough about me and realize the mistakes that I've made in the past, the way that I've treated people in the past, and what that's done to people, that has given me a better an awareness of how to treat people.
What do you enjoy most about being a dad?
It's the same thing that I guess that I live vicariously also through being a pastor, is seeing milestones come to fruition, seeing things that you never saw a week ago all of a sudden just manifest itself, and it's beautiful, right? It's amazing to be able to see, like, my son who wasn't doing his ABCs do his ABCs. The same way when I'm preaching in a congregation and seeing that one person in the back eyes open up and you can literally see their face like change because of what you're saying. It supplies a joy that nothing else is able to do. And so I love milestones. I love being able to see my children grow and be able to do things that they weren't able to do, and to see the joy in their face that they're able to accomplish things, and to actually live in that moment and to experience that with them.
What are 3 happy moments in your life as a dad?
Right. Television would have probably tell you it was the day they were born, right? When they were in the hospital, that wasn't that for me. I was a nervous wreck in the hospital, to be honest with you, for both kids. And so I don't necessarily believe it was that. I think the 3 happiest moments that I had in my life when it comes to my children, this might seem very superficial, but one, when Pierce got potty trained, good Lord have mercy. Yeah, that was a good day. That was a good day, BJ. So definitely that. Jordan was still working on JoJo. But for Pierce, definitely when he got potty trained. Wow. I think that the first time that I saw Pierce and Jordan hug each other was a great moment for me, because I've seen their partnership. I see their ability to look out for one another. I think it was great for me. Even as simple as it was something that gave me peace, because as much as it is hell, having not one but 2 babies, 2 toddlers, I think in the long run there are a lot of benefits. In the long run is that they're able to sort of parent each other as they grow. They're able to be to be accountable for one another as they grow. And so I like the fact that sign when they hugged each other, that first time I saw them hug each other, was a great sign, not just for that moment, but for what it tells in their story of realizing how much that they're a team. And then finally, I would probably say the time that both of them started reading was a huge time, was a huge accomplishment, because the struggle of them trying and them finally getting it was really big for us, and we did a lot in that sense, right? In their rooms right now, we painted a side of their wall, like literally, we cleaned out a side of the wall and we painted it with chalkboard paint.
I'm gonna let you go. Give me a couple of seconds and I will let you go. I have like about 2 or 3 more questions and I'll let you go.
Okay. No problem, dude.
Are there anything you wish you had done different as a dad?
Yes, but not necessarily to the kids. It's really to Gina, my wife. Being my job is very taxing, believe it or not, in the sense that you have to make yourself available to a lot of different people. And so there are a lot of times, in times where we're at church, where I would want to be there with my children, sitting with them as a family as we're experiencing church together. But that can never be a reality when I'm the pastor. Like, I'm not only their father, I'm their pastor. I will always be their pastor. And in that sense, that inability to be there with them in that church experience, to sit with my son and to open the Bible with him in the pew and read it together, that ability to sing songs with them as we're holding hands in the pew, or having the ability to, be there at every single worship at home. All of those things are really, really important to me. And so I feel like I don't want to say let my family down, because it is the purpose the Lord has placed on my heart. But I do feel like there are a lot of times where I feel like I want to be home, and I literally can't be home because my job is for people. And so I have to make myself available when people are free. And when people are free, ironically, are the times when my family's free, because everybody normally works during the day, and they're off when after the 5 o'clock hour is over, between 5 and whatever. That's the time where pastors go and they do their visits and whatever the case may be, yada, yada, yada. And so I find myself stepping away in times where the family needs to come together. And I'm trying my best not to make the same mistakes as your forefathers make, your other pastors before you, because what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. It's impossible for me to think that I'm going to do the same thing that these other pastors have done, and God forbid, the same repercussions happen to my family as is done to other ministers' families in the past. And I feel my heart breaks for those ministers who lose their family. Their families falls right between their fingers because they were too busy doing the job that they weren't able to be the dad.
All right, cool. All right, so I pretty much have only like 2 more questions for you, and I can wrap it up, and we can go, and then you can have time with your kids. I don't want to take away from that. Even myself right now, I'm gonna feel a little guilty because I'm doing this, and my wife's studying, and then I have to take care of my son. If I don't hold him for a certain amount of time, I feel guilty. So I'm just like,
you're dad of the year, man. Listen, you're dad of the year.
I'm trying, but I have a lot of guilt on me. So I was just like, I have to I need to do this. Once I'm done with this, it's just 100% family time. Like that's just my thing. I just don't want to. I know I'm overthinking it, but I prefer to overthink it than underthinking it. So, oh no, he's gonna be all right.
I hear you.
All right, cool. All right, so the next question I have for you is, so I know you talk about your kids, and I know you talk about your dad and even your wife, and so entering to theology and all that major, and sacrifices that you are making and you made for yourself and your family. So moving towards the future, how do you want your kids to remember you?
I never thought about that before. No, that's a great question. I mean, I would hope my children remember me to be a person that was relatable, approachable, consistent, caring, um, a man of integrity, and a man who loved God. And I know those are right. Those are like big things, right? That everybody would want, or you know what I'm saying. But I would hope that they don't have enough things to say about me that are trivial, but are things that they're able to say about me because they experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
I would want them to have a word to say about their dad that was different than just the accolades that he had or how many lives he's touched outside of themselves. I would want them to have to, if they were saying anything about me at my funeral, for example, to run out of time talking about things that we did as a family, that they couldn't get to the things that I did in regards to church.
Mm-hmm.
And that would mean that I succeeded, that I was able to give some balance between what I do for the Lord and how I've made a difference in their life, personally and hopefully professionally as well. And in the end of the day, that they would smile at moments and memories rather than plaques and trophies.
No, I want to ask you a question that's besides what I usually ask, and I wanted to, and you feel free if you want to. If not, it's okay. I just want to find out. Okay. So it's two questions in one. So let me ask the first question. If your dad was sitting right next to you, in front of you right now, what would you want him to know?
Oh, well, that plays with the narrative of when and how my father died. So my father died relatively young, believe it or not. He always had a fear that he was going to die young because his father died young. And so I felt like all those years he was trying to lecture us, times when we didn't even want to appreciate it. I feel like he was doing it not just because he had so much knowledge to give, but because I felt like he didn't have enough time. He felt like he didn't have enough time to get everything off his chest. And I really believe, and as sad as this might sound, that I don't feel like he died in peace, because I don't believe I believe there was more he wanted to tell us. And so because of that, that is really like, BJ, you have no idea, like that right there. This is what this that I'm telling you right now is my greatest motivational factor right now in my life. That because I feel like my dad still had things to tell us, and because I don't believe he died in peace, because there were more things I feel like he wanted to teach, I don't want to disappoint him. I don't want him to look back at the story of his son and be disappointed, because then he would regret more the fact that he wasn't there in instilling things. And so if he was sitting next to me, I would say, Dad, I just want to make you proud. Like, I just want to make you proud. And every decision that I've made since his passing was under the umbrella of, man, I just hope I'm making you proud.
Right.
And every time I would walk through my living room and I would see his picture, I know this sounds really like weird, but I would stop and I would look at him. And I would look at his picture and I would talk to the picture and I would say, man, I just hope I'm making you proud. Because I know what you wanted for us. And I'm not necessarily saying that we wouldn't have had it anyway, but I know that you still had some things to say to us. And I don't want me to fall into this huge mistake and then live through this sense of regret through him because of something that he felt like he didn't instill in me. And so, if he was sitting here, I'd probably say, I hope I'm making you proud.
Wow, that's powerful. That's very, very powerful. That's powerful. I love it, man. I love it. All right, so let me not hold you longer. I have one last question for you, and I'll let you go.
Yeah, it was a two-part question.
Two-part question. Oh, well,
Yeah.
the second one, you kind of answered it, but maybe you want to go in depth with it if you want to. So,
Okay.
So you say your father passed away. So, how did his death impact you?
Yeah. Well, it has allowed me to forgive a lot of people because I realize that life is short. It's given me an ability no longer to care about things that I thought were important. I'm very content now with who I am, and I feel like now a lot of the blessing that the Lord has for me is now available now when I'm able to sort of cast my cares, not worry about the enemies that are placed before me, and it sort of connects also with the words of David in Psalm 23, that the Lord prepares a table before you in the presence of your enemies, and that you have a lot of haters who don't like the fact that the Lord has placed a table in front of you. But what can you do? Do you care about the enemies that care about what the Lord has placed before you? But and it's when you're able to get past that, you're able to hear the words that say, "And surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life." That your cup is full. That you're anointed with oil. Your cup runneth over, and you realize that now this goodness and this mercy is able to follow you because you were able to do goodness and mercy. I find that goodness and mercy follows those who practice mercy and goodness. And so I have to be able to, give mercy to people. And I realized that at that moment, I was free. I was free from a lot of things that I held in my heart. And by doing that, I realized a lot of things worked in my favor. I'm at a great church right now, two churches that are flourishing. One, namely, with the My Generation Church, right now, it's just really flourishing, small church that's growing really big. And I really feel like that's, that when you do good things, you show mercy and goodness follows. And above all the other things that I've said about making my dad proud, I also found like, just being able to release a lot of things that I know my father wouldn't want to allow to still be on my heart to be able to do. And, maybe in another time we'll be able to discuss more in detail about what those things were.
Man, this has been awesome. I feel like I can talk to you even longer than we have now, man. I feel like I can dive in and throw more questions at you, but I have to call it a quits. I have to bring it to an end. And just to wrap it up, and I want you to tell me, what kind of message do you want to leave with the fathers and the dads out there?
Wow. For any father or prospective father that's listening to this amazing podcast, by the way, anybody who's listening to this, I would urge them to do what was beneficial for me, which I've mentioned in the beginning of this podcast, of mentioning the ability of knowing who you are and accepting who you are. I think the knowledge of who you are also allows you to recognize what you're not. And a lot of times people, men especially, tend to try to be something that they're not for the sake of what fatherhood or parenting is supposed to be. And I feel like when you are able to be as transparent with yourself about who you are and then ultimately what you're not, you're able then to not only fix the things that you need to fix, but I believe that your family appreciates you because you're authentic with them and you're able to become vulnerable with them. And I think fathers in this generation now more than ever need to have an equal balance of authority and vulnerability, an equal balance of availability and disclosure. That they're able to see you emotional. They're able to witness you in a moment where you don't know what to do. I think that that's as important as you having all the answers. And many pastors, leaders, teachers, all of these places and vocations of authority tend to forget that, it's when you're weak, you allow God to make you strong. It's times where you don't know where things are is ultimately when you find the greatest answers to the things in which you seek. Embrace who you are, fellas. Embrace your highs and your lows, and to gain some perspective on who you are and sort of allow God to do the rest.
Yes, amen to that. Amen to that. It's hard for you not to preach. You know that, right?
Yeah, man, it comes with the voice, man. When I hear this back, I'm gonna hear this deep voice, and I'm gonna, man, because I don't hear deep voice in my head. Like, I only hear the treble. I don't hear the bass. But when I hear myself back, I hear the bass, and then everybody like, wow, this guy is like, he's like sound like Mufasa, whatever.
Man, look, and first and foremost, I'm just gonna say, like, I'm proud of you, man. I'm thank you for coming to this podcast, and thank you for sharing your story and telling me who you are, your journey in life, and becoming a dad, becoming a husband, and taking a leadership in the church and having your church, to church as it is. So it's just you are juggling so many families, and not just your family, but many families, which is a tough job to play. Sometimes it's hard for us not to follow our father's footsteps or step away from our father's shadow. Sometimes it's hard to do that stuff. It's hard to come out that little haze of ours sometimes. But you know what? God has a way to reveal himself to you, and he definitely revealed himself to you at an early age, but you had a tendency to just like, we were young, you were young, so you were running away from it. But like you said before, let's not try to run away from ourselves. Let's not try to run away from what we need to do in our lives. We know what is right. We know what needs to get done. As a dad, we know what we have to do to contribute to our kids. We know what to do. It's just that because we are so stuck in our ways, we're so stuck in ourselves that we tend to not see what beneficial to our children or to our wives. And you definitely are setting an example for everyone out there. And I said, not for only your kids, not only for your wife, but the entire family of the church that you are holding down. You are making so much of a difference. You're impacting us so hard. And I know I said it before in the beginning. You are a brother to me. You are a friend, and you are a positive role model. And I highly encourage you to continue doing what you're doing, man. You're doing a phenomenal job. You're doing a great job, and continue doing what you're doing. God is blessing you abundantly, and I pray that he continue doing what he's doing for you, man. You're doing so well. It's hard for me not to call you say bro, because I'm trying to respect you as a pastor, and I do respect you. Like you said, because of the history that we grew up together in the same church.
Right.
So I'm seeing you develop, becoming who you are right now, and I'm just like standing back, and I'm just like, I'm proud of you, man. I know you said you if you had a chance to talk to your dad and said that you would ask him or tell him that, I hope you're proud of me, Dad. I hope you are. And that's all of us. We want our fathers to be proud of us, proud of that what we are doing, the journey that we're taking in life. That they are proud of us. There's a comforting to hear those words. And I know you can't hear those words, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I am proud of you. I'm proud of what you're doing, man. What you're doing is good. It is great. You're doing God's work. Nothing else can top that. God's work, and you're doing a great job. I'm proud of you for who you are. I'm proud of who you has become and continue to become. Don't stop. I'm using you as a model, and I continue to use it as a model. And I want to thank you again. Thank you again for coming to this podcast and sharing with me everything that you need to share, being vulnerable, being open. And it's not easy, but this is what we're doing so we can show others out there that we are here. Love is here. And great husbands is here, great fathers are here, and great dads are here. And again, I want to just thank you again for all that you have done for us, for the community, and for the church. And again, guys, I am not going to hold you guys any longer. I know I keep saying that, and it has been a pleasure. It's been an honor to have this brother of mine on this podcast, Pastor Dudley, and I highly appreciate it, and I appreciate you guys for coming through. Again, so guys, stay tuned. There's a lot more to come for this season. This season is impactful. It's powerful, and I encourage you guys to continue holding on and continue supporting me. All right, guys. So again, I won't hold you any longer for the second time. I will catch you in a few. Bye.
Okay, let's take another brief commercial break. We'll be right back. For more Dear Dad podcasts, visit Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows. Make sure you check Dear Dad Podcast on your favorite Instagram social media platform at Dear Dad Podcast. Catch you later.